middle. So, and I read it to them, and they want me to read it. So.
It's really, really good.
It's really long.
Okay.
It's good.
What about those people that wrote those?
Yep, but it was okay. I'll read it first
but
then.
still,
Okay, so
a lot of effort.
okay, so I'll read it first.
Oh my
Hold
God,
on.
you killed Lola.
Okay, so basement. Nacho finds a letter of dishonorable discharge. He feels lied to, and Grandpa isn't the person who he thought he was. Rift. Okay, and then Lola lullaby. This is that's one. Okay, and then get it? Okay, and then Lola looks at Nacho, touches his face, smiles, and tells him, "Let's go to the attic. I want to show you something." Okay. And then flashback. Lola graduates high school. And then flashback. Lola and Lola meet in college. And then flashback. Lola's debut. The day Lola asks her to be his girlfriend. And then flashback. Lola's 23rd birthday. The day Lola proposes. Oh, how sweet. And then flashback. Lola becomes bitter at the world after the war. Later on in his life, Nacho is born and Lola loved him the most. As a child, Lola realizes Nacho is a lot like him when he was younger. And then, yeah, that's the middle from the cards.
Where's mine?
But the other ones don't make sense. You killed Lola!
Maybe that's when Lola got a heart attack.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the here's the short story. Okay. I remember it was cold then. Magpapasko kasi, so our little town was very festive. Christmas carolers were starting to roam the streets. It was the week after the Japanese had started attacking Manila, and the following week was supposed to be my debutante ball. My cotillion was much anticipated by our town because I was that previous spring's Reina Elena for Santa Cruzan. Everybody in the town was thrilled to go to my party, but because of the bombings, many from our village sought refuge at closed down schools and churches just to get away from the Hapon. My family was one of the few in our town who refused to leave our properties. Thank goodness my inay was able to convince Itay to leave and hide. We were going to escape that day, so I was left at home to wait for Kuya and Inay to return home from selling fish at the market. We were supposed to leave together to meet Itay at the Basilica de San Ignacio, which was in the next town. I was pacing back and forth in the kitchen when I heard them coming. There were horses' hooves stomping on earth, men shouting in distant tongues, and familiar voices screaming as they got trampled by the noise of bullets, bombs, and fire. The Nippon army had arrived and was raiding our town. I quickly panicked. Nagtago ako sa may silong ng barong-barong namin, but a Japanese soldier heard me crying, terrified, face buried in the dirt under our home. There have been stories of them and us. Stories of other delegitas like me who get kidnapped by them to be kept as their slaves. Their souls taken violently and repetitively, their wings broken by hundreds of men, their cold bodies heavily bruised on their thighs as they're discovered in shallow ditches, sometimes still naked, forever dirty and scarred. When the soldiers found me, they grabbed me from my shelter of damp earth and dragged me by my legs. There was still soil in my hair, and they hurriedly tore my skirt. I screamed and pleaded for them to stop. They jeered at me loudly, their speech unintelligible. Like a thunderclap, Ignacio came running, his bolo in hand, and he quickly slashed through the Hapon who were attacking me, and then he dragged me in the dumpsters where we hid covered in trash. I never paid attention to Ignacio before. Nobody in our town did. He was always so quiet and kept to himself. He was often seen running chores for the household, like chopping firewood for cooking or getting water from the well. His voice was only heard when people greeted him, but other than that, he was as if a ghost wandering the alleys of our town. I found it a coincidence that my savior was named after the same basilica where my family was supposed to reunite. I was in shock and still felt quite naked, even though Ignacio was able to steal some pants from a dead neighbor for me to wear. I told him that I needed to get to San Ignacio's, and he told me that we'd go together, that he would take me. So we began our trek. To keep safe, we hid in the ditches where the Hapon would dump the dead, and we buried ourselves in the stench. I would often be taken by emotion and try to scream in fear, but Ignacio held my mouth shut and whispered reassurances in my ear. If we wanted to stay alive, I must keep silent and still, so that nobody would hear us. At last, we were feet away from the church's vestibule. I could see its archways in the distance. My heart yearned to run into my father's arms, but my fatigued legs kept me from leaping forward. Ignacio continuously asked me to be cautious with my stride. We could never tell where the landmines were, so he instinctively kept pebbles in his pocket, which he threw ahead of us every so often to make certain that the field we were passing through was safe for a couple of feet. The basilica symbol was already becoming clearer when a tora flew above us and bombed our shelter. I fell to my knees and screamed. Ignacio kept me in his arms to quiet me and calm me down. He was the only one I had left. This man, who was no more than a stranger to me just hours before, was now my only refuge, and I clung to him as tightly as I could. A year later, we were married, and he enlisted to the American Navy to fight for what he believed in and to feed our new family. In 1946, the Japanese finally surrendered Cebu and left the marred islands in ruins and in sorrow. When we came to the United States, we were still deemed nationals, but our status was quickly revoked and we were sent home by the Tidings-McDuffie Act. Nacho, your grandfather knew that staying in America was his right because of the service he did for the country. He knew that we had to stay in the United States for our children who were born here. He had to fight for our citizenship so that we can continue to build our family and assure our future, which is you now. That's why he became so upset with you, Nacho. Your grandfather knew that you were helping your family financially, but he felt that it was your duty to keep the home front safe, just as he did for us when our family started. He felt that apart from working and going to school, it was your duty to care for your mother and siblings and us too as your grandparents. For as a Filipino, that is what your culture embraces. As a family, that is our tradition and your grandfather's legacy. If not for your Lolo Ignacio, we all would not be here today. And your eulogy for your grandfather does not justify his sacrifices at all. What you wrote has offended me deeply. And I hope that what I've just told you can change your heart from the frustrations of your youth and recognize him and his love for you.